Hello, welcome to our webinar tonight. This is Trudy Bledsoe. The title of our session tonight is called From High Cholesterol and Fatigue to Empowered Health. We're going to hear a personal story from one of our friends, Mark Howard. Tanya's going to be interviewing him. And I am at Tanya's house right now. We've got a different background if you're looking at this live for sure, because we are in a house that Tanya just moved from just so we have internet still. So anyway, I'm Trudy. This is Tanya. We have over 50 years of experience, combined experience in health and wellness. And we believe that the first key to better understanding health is knowledge of things to do. And that's why we commit to doing these weekly webinars. Here are some of the previous webinars that are archived on Tanya's website at liveamazing365.com under the tab Insights, Stress, Immunity, Liver, Heart Health, and so forth. And you're welcome to go there at any time and share those with your friends because they're archived there 24/7 for you to go access. And of course, you want to consult your physician if there's any issues here, that if you're considering supplements or any of the info we're talking about, always remember, this information is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. Please consult your physician before making changes in diet, exercise, and supplementation. Our webinars contain principles we practice in our own lives, and we hope that we'll be able to make your life better just because you've joined us. So grab a notebook and pen, focus for the next 20 to 25 minutes. I think you're going to be empowered by the story you're about to hear. I'm going to turn this over to Tanya to welcome our special guest.
Okay. Well, I want to welcome Dr. Mark Howard to our call tonight. I've known Mark for quite a few years now and walked with him, alongside him in his health journey. And he has a very powerful and inspirational story on his journey and how his health has improved over the years, over the decade or so that I've known him. And so I'm actually going to do this webinar more interview style like I used to do on the radio, and just ask him questions and let him talk. So this is going to be more conversational style tonight, but I promise you, you're going to get so much information out of it, and you're going to be very blessed by what he has to say. So Mark, first, why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself? Oh, Mark. It's just Mark, are you there?
How about now?
There we go. Now we can hear you. All right.
We're going to leave this special guest sign up because we'll just leave it there. We just want to hear Mark and his story. That's awesome. Go ahead.
All right.
Mark,
Thanks.
let you tell us a little bit about yourself personally.
Okay. Well, let me say thanks to Tanya and Trudy for what they're doing every Thursday night. I jumped on here back when the pandemic was at its epic height. I needed something to do, heard about this, and I've been with it ever since. Every Thursday night, I come with pen and paper, ready to listen and learn from Tanya and Trudy. But also, I want to just share with everyone that's listening tonight. I have the opportunity to listen to each one of you as you submit questions and issues that you're working through, and it always piques my interest. And believe it or not, I've gotten as much out of the questions coming from the people that listen some weeks as I have from those who presented. So there's never a bad question to ask on a program like this, because when we quit learning, we quit growing. And that's my personal belief. And when we quit growing, we quit living. Mm-hmm. So there's no wrong questions to ask. And I can only say, if Tanya over the years had $1 for every question I have ever asked her, she could probably be retired on a beach at the top of the continent. So the material that I'll share with you tonight has been as a result of things that she's put into my life over the years. And so I'll just give you a real quick bio of myself. Grew up in Memphis. My dad was a minister in Memphis for over 50 years. Came to Union University back in the 70s. Had met my wife. We got married while we were at Union, and went off to seminary, a couple of seminaries, got several degrees, and returned back to this area back in the late 80s, where I was an associate pastor at a church here in town, then a pastor of a church here in town. Then my wife and I were on the road for about 10 years. She encountered a brain tumor, almost a 12-hour brain surgery. a benign tumor, but it had a real effect on her recovery time. She was a voice teacher and accompanist over at Union. So we had to rethink what we were going to do, and the Lord opened us up a church over in Bells, Tennessee, where I've been now. I'm in my 16th year there, and love pastoring. But what we're going to talk about tonight, I guess the greatest revelation on this journey that I've been on for all these years is that God gave me and God gave you one body. It's a gift from Him. And I've been learning over these last probably 4 or 5 years that I have a personal responsibility to take care of this temple. No one else is going to do it for me. A doctor cannot do it for me. Trudy, Tonya cannot do it for me. Supplements cannot do it for me. I have to get up every day and thank God for the gift He's given me. And I'm trying to learn balance in my life. I'm trying to learn a principle. I used to be on the radio for a number of years here in Jackson. And I had a pastor from a church here locally years ago that sat in the studio one day with me, and he looked at me and he said, "Mark, did you know that everything in the life of a Christian is spiritual?" And I'd never heard that statement before, and I asked him to explain to me what he meant. He said, God wants to be involved in every area of your life, not just what you do on Sunday, not just when you go sit in a church pew, but He wants to be involved in your body, soul, and spirit. And I found the scripture that backed that up, where Paul said in 1 Thessalonians, I pray your body, soul, and spirit be preserved blameless until Jesus comes again. So I learned a great lesson years ago that all of life is spiritual. And that includes our physical life, that the Lord wants to be involved in our physical life. So I've invited Him over and over to help me on this journey. And just situations like what we're doing tonight that continue to be a help to my life. And that's kind of a little quick bio.
Great, that's awesome. Thanks, Mark. What I would like you to really start sharing with our audience tonight is what your health was like briefly before you began investing in it and taking responsibility for it. And specifically, what prompted you to take more responsibility for your health?
Okay, it's a great question. I grew up in the city of Memphis with 3 other brothers and a sister. I grew up back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and I was interested in one thing when it came to eating: meat and potatoes and sugar. And my mother gave up on trying to get me to eat vegetables. I might eat some green beans and a little bit of corn, but I just was not a vegetable eater. It was the meat, the gravy, the potatoes, and I always needed something sweet. And I just thought that was life. I never heard anything about taking responsibility for your health. I went through college. I ate everything that didn't eat me, as long as it was meat, potatoes, and sweets. And when I was a young pastor, one night I had a lot of chest pain. I thought I was having a heart attack. I went to the hospital, and instead of finding out that I had heart issues, I had weight issues, I had inflammation issues, I had blood issues. And the doc kind of looked at me and said, you got to do something about getting in shape. So instead of eating good things, I just cut back on the things I was eating, started running a lot, dropped a lot of weight, but still didn't know anything about health and what I was supposed to do. And that continued for a number of years. Went through some physical issues in my life. But I guess the real eye-opener was the day that someone told me, because here's the gist of my story. I started reading about supplements and vitamins. That kind of talk started circulating back after 2000. And I found something one day in a magazine. It was a nutrition company. Well, I'm going to back that up. They claimed to be a nutrition company, and they claimed that the things that they could send to your home would help you to become healthy in your body and in your life. So I began to order products from them. And I didn't order just 1 or 2. I had bottles coming out my ears. And I took their word for it that this was good and healthy and right. And so I just began opening those bottles and downing those pills. And somewhere in the conversation one day here in Jackson, someone mentioned the name of Tonya Patterson. Didn't know who Tonya was, what she did. They told me, and I thought, well, my interest is now piqued a little bit in nutrition, and I'm thinking about supplements because I'm using them a lot. So I contacted Tonya. She set up an appointment. I went over into her office, sat down, and the one thing she told me was, bring everything you're putting in your mouth. So I loaded up a box full of everything I was putting in my mouth as far as vitamins and supplements. I walked in the door. She said, let me see your box. She started taking them out and looking at them. I sort of felt like I was on trial. And finally, she opened up one of the bottles, which was the multivitamin bottle. And she said, if you don't mind, I want to take one of your multivitamins, and I'm just going to drop it here in this glass of water. She didn't tell me why. She set the glass of water aside. We talked for an hour and 15 minutes. She did a lot of searching into my life, what I wanted to do, what I had been doing. And toward the end, she said, let's take a look at your multivitamin. And she brought the glass back to her desk, and all I could see was my multivitamin, the same color it was when she dropped it down in the water, sitting on the bottom of the glass. And I said, well, what does that mean? She says, that's the same thing that vitamin is doing when you put that in your throat and you swallow it. It's laying in your gut. It's not doing a thing. And that's where the education process began, probably 15, 18 years ago, sitting with her and beginning to learn about taking personal responsibility and not just believing every Tom, Dick, and Harry who said, I've got the magic pill to give you health like you've never had it before. And so I'll be honest, over the years, I was in and out with Tonya about 3 or 4 times because I put my one leg in on the train that said Shackley, and I kept the other leg out, dragging my foot, thinking, I guess she knows something, but I might be a little bit smarter than her when it comes to other things. And so I kept doing research. And before you knew it, I had pulled away from things that she was having me take, and I went back on the bandwagon of trusting another company. And then I began to develop heart issues, I thought which were heart issues, because I went to a medical individual here in town, and he said, let's just take a look at you. Let's see what your blood work says. And he sent all my blood work to the Cleveland Clinic. And when it came back, they sent back a book. Here's basically what was wrong with me. My cholesterol was over 300. My triglycerides were pushing up towards 200. My carotid arteries had plaque built up all in them on both sides. And he looked at me and he said, if we don't do something, you're going to die. But he promised if I would trust him that he would get me through what I needed to go through to get back to a life of health. And he started working with me, and I committed to listen to what he told me. But during that time, I also snuck out and once again went back on my knees to Tonya and said, I'm sorry, I've done it again. I jumped off the boat. I didn't trust you. I didn't trust what you were telling me was true, but I'm ready to trust you again. That's kind of like how we are with God, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Lord, I'm with you today, but tomorrow I don't know where I'll be. So, so between that time, which was about 5 or 6 years ago, till today, there has been a radical change in my life concerning nutrition, working out, sleep, health, everything that goes into it. And so if you want to get into some more specifics, I can share with you some things that happened. But I'll turn it back to you, Tonya.
Yeah, so it's fun reliving memories of conversations that we had. And I remember that big box of supplements that you brought into my office and me pointing out artificial ingredients in them and giving you that first round of education of, okay, so you want to learn more about your health. Here's where we start. We're starting with what you're doing. And those are some fond memories along the way of your health journey. You have come a really long way. I will say this, Mark went from not eating a vegetable to now putting broccoli in his smoothies. So he has come a very, very long way. I'm really proud of his commitment to his health and the progress that he's made. Before we talk about some specifics, you mentioned your really out of control cholesterol levels. What are your cholesterol numbers now? You've had some lab work done recently. What do those numbers look like now?
I think my HDL last time was in the low 60s. My LDL was around 100, 105. My ratio that Tonya talks about a lot was, I think, Tonya, like 2.4 or something like that.
Oh, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, the eating part has been the big change for me. Trudy made a statement last week that really caught my heart and my attention. Trudy talked about that every bite we put in our mouth, we need to look at it as to, is this going to promote health in my body or is it going to promote disease? And this is why a lot of people turn around from webinars like this and leave and never come back, because they don't want anybody, much less the Lord, getting into their daily business of their eating, because we are consumed with food in America. But I will say this, our Western diet that we have here in America is killing people right and left. It is putting more people in the grave. And our lifestyle of sitting, because we have become a sedentary sitting society now, is killing more people. You might be surprised to understand. I had a low back injury back in 2018. I had doctors tell me, and my rehab guy that has worked with me now for 2.5 years, that sitting has now replaced smoking as far as having damage on our health and bringing about early disease. And yesterday, I read from the American Cancer Society that there are 22, at least 22 major diseases that they have now identified that are linked and brought about from the time that Americans spend sitting and not moving, not exercising, not getting up out of the chair, and being proactive about our health. And that absolutely shocked me. And we're talking about blood pressure, cancer, heart disease, you name it. It's all related to the fact that we come in from work and we sit, and we go to work and we sit, and we go on vacation and we sit, and we get before the computer and we sit. And if you were to keep up with how much time you sit every day versus how much time you spend in movement. You know, I talk to people all the time now about health issues, and can I be honest and open? Well, there are a lot of people that say, you know, I just have bathroom issues. I just don't go to the bathroom, and I can't poop too much. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way sometimes people will talk. And I'll say to them, hey, what are you doing as far as exercise? Oh, I don't have time for that. I don't believe in that. I'm happy with where I am. And get this. Now, here I am, a pastor in a church, but I've heard this for years. When the talk of nutrition comes up and food comes up, and it's really funny now in America, and especially around Christians, when we go to talk about food, you know what we do the whole time we're talking about food? We laugh about it to hide behind coming to grips with the fact that it's killing us. But this is what I hear more Christians say than anybody else when it comes to taking care of our bodies. Well, you're going to die of something anyway. And I'm going, no, wait a minute. As a Christian, I confess that Jesus is the Lord and the boss of my life. And yet I'm going to take advantage of that and say to the Lord, hey, I'm going to die of something anyway, so I'm going to eat, drink, and be merry, and I'm not going to think anything about it. But I can tell you, as a pastor, I have spent 40 years in hospital rooms and in nursing homes with people, and I have watched over and over and over people who are sick because they will not see that what they do as far as their nutrition and health habits is a spiritual matter, just like going to church. And when you talk to them about it, they have no desire to make a change. but occasionally there's a little light that comes on in someone's life. And I see it every day when I go to the gym. People coming in, seeking to start, to get on that journey, to be committed, to be disciplined. And I meet a lot of Christian people at the gym too, and they talk about how they pray and talk to God, about what they're doing in their life. And it's a blessing to see that and to have the opportunity to talk with them. But our health is our personal responsibility. God's not going to make you and I get healthy, but he's going to desire that we be healthy so we can be effective for him on this earth until we breathe our last breath. And here's the deal. Even if you are seeking to live a healthy life, and if you get sick, I can tell you this from personal experience. If you have to have a time that you come away and have surgery, or you have to have a time where you spend weeks in rehab and you cannot do what you were doing in your workout routine and seeking to live a healthy lifestyle, here's a proven fact. You will come back quicker once you can get back into the routine that you were in than if you never had that routine at all. Mm-hmm. And I'm a living example of a 2-level disc surgery and a low back injury to where I spent most of my time crawling around on the floor because I could not walk from the nerve pain from the top of my head to the bottom of my foot. But once I got fixed, I was able to come back and not have 6 months to have to get back up to speed where I was. And I was absolutely amazed. And when I talked to my rehab guy, it's like, well, you've been doing this for 23 years. You've been like working with your body. You've been staying balanced in your life. And so that's why you're able to come back that much quicker. And I think that's an encouragement to people, in that area.
Absolutely. And I'm sure people are going to want you to come back on as a guest again. You're having a lot of fantastic things to say. And as you're encouraging people with these habits, let's talk about what some of those habits are for you. How many days a week do you go to the gym?
I go to the gym at least 5 days a week. It's the first thing I do in the morning when I get up. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to tell people what time I get up, because sometimes people will go, well, I need to start getting up at that time, because we can't clone each other. Mm-hmm. God made you a certain way and God made me a certain way. But I know that when my body clock wakes up, I don't lay in the bed and fight laying in bed. I get up and I get out the door, and I'm there when the gym has been open already. And I get in there and do my workout and routine. Then I come home, have breakfast, have my quiet time with the Lord, go to work, do a full day of work, and then come home and get back in the bed, and we get up and do it again. But yeah, I do that 5 days a week. Plus, I'm not a hunter. I'm not a fisherman. I'm not a gardener, but I love the game of golf. And some nights I get home, I got a little area in my backyard. I'll just go out and chip just to be outside. I try to play golf about once a week if I can find some guys to play with. And so that's kind of my normal routine.
Yeah, so Mark does not see me at the gym when he goes, because he's there a lot earlier than I want to be at the gym. All right, so what is one food habit that you've developed, something related to your food, that you feel like has been really instrumental in your health?
This has been the life changer in my life. Two things. Number one, I eat meat at breakfast. I have grilled chicken when I get home from the gym. That's a great protein help to your body. My breakfast basically consists of a protein drink, eating some grilled chicken, and then I use Dave's bread, and I put blueberries along with sun butter on it. And I'm getting everything I need right there. I'm getting carbs, I'm getting fruit, I'm getting my protein, and that, plus I'm taking my supplements and my vitamins at that time. But the biggest thing that has changed my life is buying a Ninja blender, because let me share with you, my church is over in Bells, Tennessee. And those of you that grocery shop know that out of Bells, Tennessee, they're one of the larger frozen vegetable companies here in America. And I have been able to talk to the owner of that company. I have sat down with him and talked with him about vegetables and my journey of not liking vegetables. But here's the question that I asked him a few summers ago. I said, I've been trying to eat fresh vegetables that come in to Kroger, Walmart, maybe farmer's market occasionally. But the stuff that we get, I found out from him, the stuff that we get, leafy things like that from Walmart and Kroger, those things are picked out west. Those things are picked down in Mexico. And he says by the time those things are packaged, now I'm not talking about frozen vegetables, but by the time those things are packaged, put on trucks, gassed, brought in here to us, they have been out of the ground for anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. And so I asked him, what does that do to nutrition? He said, you're losing nutrition from the minute those things are picked out of the ground. So I said, well, tell me, what's the value of frozen vegetables? You know what he told me? He said, we have the farmer take the vegetable out of the ground. It's immediately brought to our plants around the nation, and it is washed and frozen immediately. So you're not losing hardly any nutrient value of that particular vegetable. And they have multitudes of vegetables that we know of that are in the stores. So here's what saved me. I'm not going to eat broccoli that's cooked. I'm not going to eat kale that's cooked. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to put it in my Ninja with some protein powder and some unsweetened coconut milk, and with some fruit like mixed berries, strawberries, or blueberries. And I'm going to put the kale. I'll put the broccoli in there. What else do I use in there? I'm trying to think. My carrots, I'll put carrots in there, and I'll just turn the blender on and I'll mix it all up. And this is what I do at least 5 days a week for lunch. That is my lunch and has been now for a number of years. And people will say, well, don't you get bored with that? No, because it makes my body run right. Mm-hmm. Don't you miss hamburgers and French fries and all that other stuff? I miss the smell of it. But having been eating like this so long, I don't miss what it does to my body for the next 3 to 4 days afterwards. Mm-hmm. Now, I will occasionally eat a hamburger. Most of the time, my wife says, here's the buns, and I'll say, I'm eating just the burger. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, we cook turkey burgers here at our house. We don't do the ground beef, though occasionally someone's given us some ground beef before, and we will use that. But I don't eat like that consistently. I don't eat fried foods anymore consistently. I eat what's nutritious to my body. And Tonya can attest to that because I sent her some pictures today of what my freezer looks like over at the church. But I have the time of my life making up my smoothies and doing them with different flavors and whatever. And that's my go-to thing at least 5 days a week. That's what's changed me more than anything.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And that's a good tip for people who want to get in more veggies. Throw it in their protein shake.
And can I share one more quick thing?
Sure.
This has been the lifesaver, because when I was a little boy, when my mother wasn't around, I was a sugar holic. I would go into the kitchen when my mother was not around, and I would eat out of the sugar bowl, literally. My favorite sandwich growing up was white bread, grape jelly, and sugar sprinkled on top of it.
Oh.
I would say the greatest mountain that God has helped me to get across, I am no longer addicted to sugar.
That's awesome.
I do not use sugar anymore in my coffee. I don't put sugar on strawberries, blueberries, or whatever. Stevia is my go-to sweetener. My body has adjusted to that. Mm-hmm. And but sugar, off the list. And here's why, and I'll tell you real briefly. My wife and I used to go to the grocery on Friday, and she'd get a half a gallon of what her favorite flavor ice cream was, and then I got a half a gallon of what my favorite was, and we would start on Friday, and by Sunday afternoon, my box of ice cream was gone. She would normally have some left over, and I would finish off hers. We graduated to a pint of ice cream because we wanted to try to do a little better in losing weight, and now I don't even eat the pints of ice cream because the last time I looked, there are 4 servings and a pint of ice cream. there are at least 30 to 40 grams of sugar in each of the 4 servings. And we don't read that on the thing. We just think, oh, it's just a pint of ice cream. So in a typical pint of chocolate ice cream, I was looking at 120 grams of sugar. You divide 4 because there's 4 grams in 1 teaspoon of sugar. 4 into 120 is what, Tonya?
That's 30 teaspoons of sugar.
30 teaspoons of sugar. Can you imagine standing at the sink and downing 30 teaspoons of sugar? I did that every night some years in my life. Not anymore, because I know what sugar does. And my mom and dad both have cancer, and I have studied cancer. And if you have cancer in your family, you need to keep this close to the vest. Cancer loves sugar. Cancer feeds off sugar. And I'm having to be proactive to watch myself that I don't do habits in my life that are going to inflame my body. So if cancer were to take over my body, that I'm done and over with. I'm filleted. They might as well just put me in the ground. So I'm trying to get balanced and stay abreast of what's happening. And that's why I come here on Thursday night and listen to what these gals give out. And what you ask is questions, because we've got to continue learning, growing, and living. And I'm having the time of my life now. My energy level is out the roof. And I used to sit at my desk and fall asleep every day. Not anymore. My sugar level is back where it needs to be. My triglycerides are under 100. My blood sugar this morning was 91 when I got up.
Which is perfect. All right, so Mark, I know everybody's wanting to know, and we don't have time to tell them all the supplements that you take, but could you just give them the list of the top 3 supplements, top 4 supplements that you feel like are most important to you and your health personally?
Yeah, I'd love to. The first one, I told you the story about the multivitamin. Hour and 15 minutes, never moved. I take Vita Gold. Vita Gold has in it, help me out with this, Tonya, it's got the multivitamin in it for morning and night. It's got the omega-3 in it. It's got the probiotic in it. And it has the, what am I leaving out? The Bs. It has the B complex. So that's my, that's my go-to strip. It's a strip. It's easy. When I travel, I can just throw the strips in my bag, and I don't have to take 4 or 5 bottles with me. So that's number 1. Number 2, liver detox. The first program I listened to here was the night that Tonya and Trudy were talking about the liver. And I remember that they taught us that the liver does 500 different functions. And right now I'm trying to get off my cholesterol medication, and I'm very close to being able to do that. But if my liver doesn't function right, I can't get off the cholesterol medication. So I'm doing things proactive in my eating and in my exercise and in my drinking of water, but I'm taking the liver detox also to help me stay detoxed. Number 3, the falling asleep issue. Shackley came out with a product just in time for me. It's called Core Energy. I take 3 of those a day, one about every 3 to 4 hours. And it has ingredients in it that boost my energy level. And it's my go-to thing now. And you can see on there what you're looking at. It has the ginseng and the green tea, things that are all just productive in our body. And the last thing, all of us have been listening about the coronavirus. And if you'll listen real carefully, people that go into the hospital with coronavirus, there are certain doctors now that are giving extended doses, mega doses of vitamin C that's helping people to get back on their feet. And vitamin C is my go-to thing every day. I won't tell you how many grams I take, because someone would say, well, I need to go take that many grams. You got to find out what works for your body. But those are my 4 go-to, along with some other things that are in the closet that I use every day also.
Thanks, Mark. That's awesome. So we want to give you guys, I know our program ran long tonight, but it's such good information. So Mark, you're a preacher, you're good at closing words. Why don't you, if you have a word of encouragement or something just to kind of wrap this up, and then we're going to take just 3 or 4 questions that people might have specifically for you. So what encouragement would you have to people, for people who are listening right now?
Well, first encouragement is really believe me when I'm sharing this with you. The Lord wants to be involved in every area of your life, and that includes your physical life. And I cannot tell you how much I pray to the Lord and ask for his wisdom and his guidance concerning my physical life. And there are days that God brings back to my memory things that I have heard, like on this program, and in the continual education that I try to give to myself mentally of things that I like to read and stay abreast of what's happening. So please understand that the Lord wants to be involved in your life, and invite him into your physical life as well as your church life. The second thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's not a bad question, and you're only going to learn, and I'm only going to learn as we ask questions. The third thing that's helped me in my life, I have a Thanksgiving list every day. When I spend time with the Lord, I've been doing this now for probably close to 20 years. I jot down 5 things every morning that I'm thankful for. I cannot tell you what that has done for my life. I mean, the small things as well as the big things. And sometimes it goes beyond 5 a day. But I've been doing that every day, 365 days a year for 20 years. And it keeps me above the fray. It doesn't let me get down into the negativity that this world is so full of, because I'm grateful, so grateful to God for what he's doing in my life, and grateful to meet people like who are listening tonight that are on this program and are going to ask questions in a few minutes. So those are things that I believe are so important. And we're all going to take 2 steps forward, 3 steps forward, and maybe we'll take 1 or 2 backwards. Don't beat yourself up. Just get back in the race. Mm-hmm. Keep running. Don't give up. Just make up your mind. Get a buddy that will encourage you. Find someone that will pray with you about your goals that God's giving you in your life. And never look back. Mm-hmm. Never look back. The scales are no longer my enemy. They're my friend. They help me stay on track. Mm-hmm. And so, hey, thank you all for letting me share. I was humbled to be asked to do this. Is the first time I've ever done anything like this, but we all learn from each other, and I hope others will be asked to do the same thing I was asked to do tonight, so we can continue to learn from other people.
Thank you so much, Mark. All right, so Trudy, anything that you want to say in closing remarks before we open it up for questions?
I mean, I took notes. I've got all kinds of notes on what he said, and I just wanted to, I was so impressed, Mark, with some of the stuff that you said. You said it makes my body run right. When I was teaching school, the librarian used to say, you act like you've got speed in your blood. Or something. She said, what is wrong? I said, I just have energy, because just like when I learned what that shake does for me, I take it as my breakfast. It's okay to take it at lunch, of course, but when I learned what that does for me, it just changed my life. And I mean, I'm out of town, and I slept in a camper last night, but this morning, guess what? I had my blender out, and I had my shake for breakfast in the camper.
There you go. Yep.
Wherever I go, it goes with me, because it just makes such a difference. And one other thing I wanted to mention, there were so many things you said that were amazing. You know, my goal is for my health span to be as long as my life span.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because when you see people and they lay on the hospital bed, or they just lay there for 15 and 20 years, and their health, they just, it's just sad. And so I love what you said about taking responsibility, because I'm just like you. I grew up eating whatever I wanted to eat. We didn't know what to eat: hot dogs, chips, whatever, but right. I was so thankful that the Lord brought the right people into my life to kind of make me stop and think. And it was a process of time, of course, but that's why we love doing these webinars, Mark, and we appreciate your input so much, because people have different questions. People are at different stages in life. And that's why we made a commitment to just kind of jump in here on Thursday nights and share some of this info. So I know people are going to have some great questions for you. Knowledge is power. And you didn't even know we had that slide that said knowledge is power, but you really drove that home to us tonight. And that's exactly right. And people have to be open to that and want to get that knowledge and make an effort. And so we have all kinds of webinars. I want to mention this, that we have archived. I just snapped a picture of some of them on Tonya's amazing website here, liveamazing365.com. And you can just go there under the tab Insights, and you can see those. They're free for you to watch. And now we're going to just kind of jump right into Q&A and see what kind of questions people have. And I am going to minimize this. So stop my share.